For the second day after the Netzarim corridor was opened, Palestinians in their thousands are going back to the northern part of Gaza with intense work coming from the population and from the municipality in Gaza as well, making sure that they clear the roads, get some water in. People are going back to their homes that are destroyed, but they're cleaning whatever they can, making sure that whatever couches, sofas they have are cleaned and they have a living space, whatever, they're dealing with whatever they can. But there has been a tragedy for Israel in Gaza today. They accidentally killed one of their people who has been serving this genocide entity for the past 15 months. They said there was a tragedy in the Gaza Strip. Contractor worker is working for the IDF. The man has been operating on an Israeli bulldozer in Gaza, destroying people's homes. Many of these people who were working with the bulldozers in Gaza, some of them, they outright declared and admitted on live Israeli television that they ran over hundreds, if not thousands, of Palestinians, some of them alive, killing them with bulldozers, running over people. And they later started to say that they're suffering with PTSD because of the images that they've seen. This man was one of them. And he was also seen taking pride in what he's done in Gaza as well. He had images of himself, right, on with this Israeli flag in the Netzarim line, being proud, not knowing that his demise was coming not by the people of Gaza, but by his own country. They killed him after all of this genocide and destruction. Even though they said the man was an honorable man, he was, a kind-hearted man who loved to help, the biggest heart there is, always with a smile, always with a joy. They said, this is the irony and psychopathy in Israel. People who are kind-hearted, committing a genocide against other people, people with the biggest heart there is, killing as many people as possible, always with a smile, always with a joy. Terms like the joy of committing a genocide, they're only found in Israel. Genocide joy. Imagine that. Anyway, this man is no longer above the surface. His family, of course, is upset, but, Israel killed him by accident. Some people are saying, well, they killed him because he looked like an Arab, and Israel shoots everyone who looks like an Arab or a Palestinian. And we need to kind of reduce this killing based on how people look. But again, that's difficult, something very difficult to do in Israel, not shooting people to kill because they look like Arabs. I mean, it's something difficult for Israel to do. They have an addiction in, shooting people who are brown and, bearded and stuff. So, yeah, the man is no longer there. People are upset, but hey, they can't do anything about that. In the meantime, more criticism is happening in Israel. People who are supporters of the squatting establishment who wanted to, build Gaza again on top of the over 50,000 bodies of the Palestinian people, on top of the bodies of the Palestinian children who were killed. They're upset and they don't know what to make out of Donald Trump's statements. Some of them are like, bragging about the fact that Donald Trump is saying, oh yeah, we need to kind of find a different place for the people of Gaza to live because, the thing is destroyed. I was speaking about these abhorrent statements from Trump yesterday, and he reiterated it again. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what Trump says. What matters is what the people do. Trump, the biggest thing that shut Donald Trump's mouth is that over 500,000 now Palestinians are already in the north. That's it. And in Israel, they're already saying, many people are talking and reports and analysts, and that we can't go back to what we were doing before, even with this withdrawal from the Netzarim corridor, where this genocide Joy guy was killed by Israel. people are saying in Israel, even from the military, that it's not going to be easy to go back now, because we've established this place as the biggest accomplishment in Gaza, established it as a permanent place. We were trying to convince people to come, and all of a sudden we're withdrawing. How are we going to go back? Netanyahu himself said if we withdraw, it's going to be very difficult to come back. But, you know, some people are supporting these Trump says, but it wasn't only the people of Gaza who, of course, gave Trump an answer. He also received very strong statements coming from Egypt, Jordan, and Iran. Egypt, again, although they reiterated it already before, they said no, outright reject. We outright reject the displacement of Palestinians outside their land. After that suggestion. Now, remember, the Egyptian government before, they already said when the pressure was up after the beginning of the genocide that no way, it's not going to happen. They issued a statement, the foreign ministry issued a statement on Sunday evening, actually immediately after the comments of Trump, which did not engage at all, according to this report, with the president directly, but stressed that Egypt's support for the steadfastness of the Palestinians on their land and backed their legitimate right to their homeland. They rejected any violation of those inalienable rights, whether through settlement expansion, annexation of land, or removal of its rightful owners through displacement, or encouraging the transfer or uprooting the Palestinians from their land. Clearly, the Egyptians, they are not playing ball. You know, Trump is saying, I'd like to speak to Sisi. I'd like him to say, as if, you know, he runs the world. I'd like him to take some. Who do you think you are? I'd like him to take some. You shut up and mind your own business. You said, make America great again, and America first. Focus on America. Leave the rest of the world. You deal with the Zionist lobby holding you in the United States, and don't speak to other people, especially not the Palestinian people. Especially not the Palestinian people. It wasn't just Egypt. It was also, Jordan. Jordan, again, reaffirming the rejection of Palestinian displacement. When we talk about Jordan and Egypt, they're considered to be countries that are allied with the United States of America. It's undeniably allied. Said, our rejection of the displacement of Palestinians is firm and will not change. Jordan is for Jordanians, Palestine is for Palestinians. And Ayman al-Safadi himself, again, an ally of the United States and many Western countries too, said before any displacement will be considered a declaration of war. So because they want to try something in Gaza so that they can repeat it in the West Bank. Is what people need to understand. This settler colonial project based on foreigners coming, creating this Israel thing, people coming from Germany, from Ukraine, from Poland, from all parts of the world, coming and saying, you know, expelling the people first, and now telling them, oh no, you need to be expelled again. The Gazan people telling the people of Gaza to be expelled again. He had a response from Jordan, Trump. But now also Iran is talking. Iran had a different idea. Iran's foreign minister Araghchi said, expel Israelis to Greenland, leave Palestinians in Gaza. He said, I have a better idea for Donald Trump. Expel Israelis to Greenland, leave Palestinians in Gaza. Now, he said, you know, you have a problem with Greenland and you have a problem over there. Take them, you know. Although another proposal would be is go back to where you came from. Benjamin Netanyahu, Poland, Smotrich, Ukraine, others Romania, others this and that. US, you came from the US, go back to the US. So Iran has a different approach when it comes to Donald Trump. But again, the main thing is what the Palestinian population in Gaza did, which is return to their land that was destroyed, although Israel did so many obstacles and committed this genocide, and they had this general plan for the past several months to completely ethnically cleanse the north. It didn't work at the end of the day. Amidst all of that, in the middle of all of this talk and all of this loudmouthness coming from Donald Trump, there are confirmed talks happening about a big solution, a big deal. So, negotiations for a comprehensive deal in the Middle East was reported earlier today. Trump envoy in talks with Saudi Arabia. The direction is positive, but there is more work to do. And the talks here are about Steve Witkoff, the envoy of Donald Trump to the region. And according to many reports, he hasn't only applied pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu to reach a ceasefire. He's speaking with all sorts of countries in the region. He's trying to come up with this deal with Saudi Arabia. There's back and forth. He's saying there's positive talks, there's positivity. He's due to visit Gaza. He said he's going to visit Gaza, by the way. Although his forces in Gaza are irrelevant, by the way. You know, the Americans in Gaza who are a part of this Egyptian company, they're doing nothing. Reports coming from Gaza that the people checking the cars going back to the north are Egyptians. And the witness statements coming from the people moving in cars to the north are very positive about the Egyptian forces inside of Gaza. They're treating us with very, very respect. We feel like they like us and they love us and they want what's best for us. The checks are very easy and they're letting us go. And the American forces just sitting on the side, basically. They're not actively engaging with the people. Egypt is directly in charge. So even this visit, and I previously said, his visit is an admission, a recognition in Gaza and in Hamas and in the resistance in Gaza. What is this? He's saying it's positive, and he's not only speaking with the Saudis, by the way. He's also speaking with figures in the Palestinian Authority. Another report in Axios said that he met with a senior Palestinian official in Saudi Arabia during his trip in Saudi Arabia to talk about this peace deal that they're planning for the future. He met with Hussein al-Sheikh, particularly. He is the envoy of Mahmoud Abbas, the representative of Mahmoud Abbas. He's the senior advisor of the Palestinian Authority president. Regardless of how relevant they are, really, but of course they're speaking with them because they are the side internationally recognized, and talks are about progress. Okay, how comes these talks are coming now? We're only a couple of weeks into the ceasefire. The statements from Israel are shady. They're keeping things hidden deliberately, but there are multiple translations to that. There are multiple explanations. And now that the talks about this peace deal are coming, Netanyahu, what people need to understand is that Netanyahu, to this day, did not publish the details of the ceasefire in Israel. He did not publish it. And that on its own is a condemnation to him and to Israel. A big proof that the clauses of the ceasefire are not in the favor of Israel. If this was an honorable agreement for Israel, if this was something to be proud of, Benjamin Netanyahu would have been the first person to brag about it. He hasn't published it yet. Why he hasn't published it yet? Because all of the details of the ceasefire are in line with the demands of Hamas and the Palestinian resistance. The 5 main core principles: ending the war completely, withdrawing from all of Gaza, allowing people back everywhere in Gaza, including the north. All of these were red lines, by the way. Then bringing all aid in and then rebuilding Gaza. All were red lines to Israel, and all were key conditions for Hamas. That's why there was never another temporary ceasefire, because Hamas told them, no way we're getting into a ceasefire. That will be temporary. It's going to have to be permanent. Call it phases, we'll negotiate on the second phase later on, portray it as you like. This is what we want. And this is clearly what they've gotten. And that's why Benjamin Netanyahu is not publishing it. Clearly, this agreement that came between Israel and Hamas ties Israel very much. It ties Israel very much, and it does talk about ending the war, and it does talk about a long-term ceasefire. Ron Dermer had leaks previously that this agreement with Hamas is supposed to last for 10 years. And Israel also confirmed that they will have no say in the day after Gaza. But still, Benjamin Netanyahu is selling to his base in Israel and to Smotrich and co. that, oh no, we have the opportunity to go back and hit Gaza. Smotrich is selling the illusion, that, oh no, I'm going to talk to Netanyahu and we're going to go back to a full-scale war in phase 2, and we're going to occupy the whole of the Gaza Strip, and all of the Palestinians are going to be expelled. All lies, garbage. Nothing is happening on that side. And clearly, Benjamin Netanyahu and this guy, they're selling lies to the Israeli public. And the fact that there are reports and the Americans are now engaging again in talks with Saudi Arabia to have this peace treaty with Israel, or have a deal with Israel, or include Saudi Arabia in what they labeled as the Abraham Accords, is on the table. Does that mean that the vision of Donald Trump when it comes to the peace, and he wants to be this peacemaker, is actually being implemented regardless of the hostile and abhorrent and racist statements that he's making against the population in Gaza? I don't care whether it's to please the Zionist lobby or please whoever, abhorrent, racist, ugly, despicable. Is he doing something else on the ground? Well, by pushing Netanyahu to a ceasefire, he completely destroyed Joe Biden in 1 week. He just destroyed Joe Biden in 1 week. He did what Joe Biden couldn't do for the past 15 months. Well, he could have done it, but he did not do it. When you are the president of the United States, it doesn't matter who's supporting you, who's backing you, deep state, no deep state, lobby or no lobby. You have the authority and you have the power to do something, to make a decision, to apply pressure, to make a threat, to implement things, to make decisions. Donald Trump did that. Was that in the favor of Benjamin Netanyahu? It wasn't for the favor of Benjamin Netanyahu. It wasn't. Did they give them something in return just for them to shut up? Probably. And that's probably how things are being sold, by the way, too. So that they don't show it in the ugly way that it actually happened. By basically Steve Witkoff putting his foot in Netanyahu's shoe, shutting his mouth and telling him, you need to reach a ceasefire. And now Netanyahu, like a little dog, he listened to Trump and Witkoff, which led to many problems, of course, more resignations, fragile government coalition. And now these reports are coming from Israel about the peace treaty. And by the way, even when Netanyahu himself, his statements regarding the ceasefire and the potential of restarting the war, he only said, we will go back to the war if we have to go back to the war. And people need to understand now, the Palestinians are going back everywhere, apart from the buffer zone, from which Israel will be withdrawing at a later stage during the ceasefire. And the only reason everything is not happening in all of a sudden, all together, is only to save face for Israel. But Israel withdrew from Netzarim, the main base, their pride in Gaza, the death location. The Palestinians call it death location. Israel used to kill everyone coming next to it. Civilian, no civilian, child, woman, everything, animal. People are finding skulls in the region, by the way. And it's going to be a mission almost impossible to recover some of the bodies that are under the rubble, including some of the Israeli prisoners of war. And the Israeli families of prisoners of war in Israel who are suspected to be dead are saying that we might never see actually the bodies of our families. That's because of what Israel's done. So it's not only the Palestinians, it's the Israelis who Israel knew might be in any location and already clarified and confirmed that Israel targeted them in multiple parts of Gaza. So the more time goes by, the more we see that it's less likely that Netanyahu will go back to war. The question is, how quickly will all of this be? Well, we're not going to be talking about a case of months here. And if anything comes to fruition, it's probably not going to be in the era of Benjamin Netanyahu. He might want to take credit for that, but if he wants it to be under his leadership, he's going to have to make it fast. However, there are several months before anything, can progress in a very solid manner. The 3 phases of the war, the 3 phases of the ceasefire, they need to be completed. The outcome of the war and the day after in Israel needs to be discussed internally. Benjamin Netanyahu, if he's gonna not restart the war again in Gaza, he's gonna potentially face Smotrich resigning, because he said, if we're not going back in full force after phase 1, I'm resigning. Unless Smotrich, of course, finds another excuse for his base and then continues with the Benjamin Netanyahu government. All of these things, they need to happen before any potential. And even with that potential deal, you are still stuck with many problems. The squatting enterprise in the West Bank, the fact that there's a Palestinian Authority in the West Bank not willing to play ball with the Palestinian national consensus, supportive of the historical and contemporary rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to resist, and the fact that, Hamas and the Palestinian resistance are still there, leading the front against Israel and saying that we're continuing up until we liberate Jerusalem. Ceasefire, no ceasefire. This is our aim eventually. Now, Israel will be offered certain things, but every time that they were offered to have a peace agreement with the Palestinian side, they rejected the 2-state solution. They reject the 2-state solution. They reject the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank and in Gaza. And even internally, they can't agree. Some of them say, we can make an agreement with one or the other. Others, or, the majority of them, deny the existence of a Palestinian people. They'll tell you, there's no such thing as Palestinian people. But ironically, they recognize themselves a fake entity with fake people who came from multiple parts of the world and changed their names to try and, create this fake link between this entity. So any talks about peace are really a big stretch at the moment, but from the reports that are happening, this is the way the administration is leading to. How successful will they be? That's a different story, because Joe Biden, he offered Benjamin Netanyahu, at the time it was labeled as like on a golden plate, and offer a deal with Saudi Arabia immediately, by the way, because there were talks at the time of, let's just give the Palestinian state, let's get this over and done with, and Netanyahu rejected at the time. However, will Netanyahu change with proper American pressure, despite all of this talk and smoke screens in mainstream media? Only time will reveal, and we will, of course, see in the next coming months.